This morning we responded to a storm here in D'Hanis that turned out to have done considerable damage. We're still trying to determine whether it's an actual tornado or if it's a straight line wind. We have most of the damage right here where we're at behind me, including numerous businesses with roof damage to collapsed ceilings, roofs, walls. The fire department behind these buildings is basically gone. No injuries that we know of, not a single one, which is I think because of the time that it happened. If it would happen at 10 o'clock in the morning instead of 4 o'clock in the morning, it might be a different story.
Severe storms and possible tornadoes are tearing across parts of Texas, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake. In Bexar County, there are reports of several high water rescues, including 2 school buses with nearly a dozen people on board. This was the scene in Floresville this morning, about 30 miles southeast of San Antonio. You can see the high school there was heavily damaged. No reports of injuries. The school will remain closed today. The storm also tossed a vehicle on top of a Holiday Inn. All around town you can see trees down, debris everywhere, cars nearly destroyed. In D'Hanis, another hard-hit town about 50 miles west of San Antonio, more of the same. Roofs and walls ripped off buildings, businesses in shambles. The storms could spawn tornadoes and flash flooding across parts of Texas and the Deep South through Saturday.
It was another night of heavy rain and thunderstorms throughout much of central and southeast Texas. The latest battering came as crews continue to search the Austin area for 2 people who were swept away during Friday's flash flooding. Meantime, a tornado watch has been posted for southeast Texas this morning, with isolated wind gusts set to clock in at 70 miles an hour. Let's get the latest from Omar Villafranca in Austin. Omar, good morning.
Good morning. 2 people are dead and 2 others are missing after a series of storms beat down south and central Texas. Residents of this Austin neighborhood only had a few minutes to evacuate as raging waters began flooding the streets. Teresa Bahalik managed to grab her 3 dogs before leaving.
Oh my goodness, a little overwhelming to have the police coming down your street ordering you out of your house.
Brother and sister John and Tara Jones went into their house to get their kids and pets as the floodwaters crept closer and closer to their doorstep. What are you going to do tonight?
I'm not sure. We're going to call some friends and we'll find a place to go.
In San Marcos, Texas, outside Austin, officials called in armored trucks to evacuate students from an elementary school. Just outside San Antonio, heavy winds ripped the roof off this high school and homes in the area. Many of them crushed. The same strong gusts damaged century-old brick buildings and tossed this tractor trailer on top of a hotel.
The fire department building is damaged, and then as you can see behind us, the old jailhouse is completely gone.
Terrifying is what it was.
The storm damaged several homes in the town of Geronimo, Texas, where a tornado is believed to have touched down Friday morning. One husband threw himself on top of his wife to protect her.
Thank God for being alive.
So it's flooding here.
Near Austin, Kerry Packer shot this video after calling for help while still trapped in his car, swept away by floodwaters.
So you can see I'm floating down some sort of creek.
Many residents in this Austin neighborhood didn't spend the night here last night. They evacuated because the water was halfway up to that street sign and already leaking inside some of the homes. When the sun comes up, that's when cleanup.
Waist deep, just about over an hour ago, rescuing this girl from that area. There's some rescues there, and I caught it on tape. We were waist deep, and now the water in just 1 hour has receded down enough for people to walk across this area.
And we're looking at that video that you shot, Heather.
Yeah,
what an incredible situation, a successful water rescue captured here in Hays County. What were the emotions of the folks there who got pulled out? Did you have a chance to speak with them briefly?
Yeah, of course. I spoke with the young lady, Rebecca Ochoa. She was on top of her car. actually. And what was happening is earlier this morning, around 9:30, she was on Goforth, headed to coming back from work. And what happened was when she saw that the water was near the Steeplechase subdivision, because it was rushing, it sounded like waves. It was going so quickly. She tried to turn around, but it grabbed her car, swept her across, and she said she climbed on top of her car, got out of, quickly on her feet, climbed on top of her car and stayed there. Luckily, some trees stopped her, and she was screaming for about an hour and a half for help. And luckily, some guys in the apartment complex about a block down heard her, and, they hopped the fence, put on their swim trunks, and swam toward her. And as you can see in that video, the guys are surrounding her, grabbing her off her car, and brought her to safety.
Incredible stories of heroism from folks who are emergency first responders and even just common civilians like that man putting on his swim trunks.
A very strong tropical cyclone. This is south of Yemen, if you can believe that. So this actually is being classified as about a Category 4 storm equivalent, 130 miles an hour. It's called Chapala, and it's moving west at 10 miles an hour. There's a couple things happening here. As this closes in on Yemen, it's starting to ingest some drier air. That's great news, because that would indicate that we would see maybe this choke off a little bit. The bad news is it's very warm water here, and the winds are favorable to continue to see this develop. The reason this is such a big story, Reynolds, is that a tropical depression moved into this very same region of between Yemen and Oman a couple years ago, and it caused 180 deaths. And so any amount of the rainfall is the big concern. Flooding here would be very scary and could really escalate quickly.
This is Chapala, a rare cyclone right now that is posing a major threat to places like Saudi Arabia and Yemen. It is gathering a lot of strength in the Arabian Sea, and right now it is just shy of a Category 5 equivalent hurricane with winds over 150 miles per hour. Now, this is expected to strengthen, and over the next day or so, this could be tied or become the strongest tropical cyclone ever recorded in the northwestern part of the Arabian Sea. Just to give you some idea of how rare this has only happened twice since 1945 that we've seen a storm with this type of strength getting ready to make landfall. Now also, check out this rain. Remember, this is the desert, so this rainfall forecast is expected to dump what would be the equivalent of 8 years of rain in just 48 hours along the Arabian Peninsula.
So for more on why we should be gazing upwards and perhaps counting our lucky stars, we reached the host of Quirks and Quarks. Bob McDonald is in Victoria. So Bob, should we be excited or spooked about this asteroid?
Well, it's kind of funny, Andrew, because we've already got one of the first images of it, a radar image of it, and it looks kind of spooky. It looks like a skull. It's this black thing with dark eyes, and ooh, it looks really creepy coming right towards us. But from a scientific point of view, it's an opportunity to have a free mission to an asteroid. We don't have to build rockets and go out and find it. It came to us. So over the next few hours, the largest telescopes on Earth are going to be looking at this thing, and they're going to be bouncing radar waves and microwaves off this thing to try to image it as it goes by. So we should get much clearer images as the day goes on. We'll see it rotate, we'll see surface features on it, and just get a good look at it as it whizzes by our planet.
That is just unbelievable. Let's show that image again, because it really, this is Halloween, and you're telling me that the asteroid that is about to fly the closest to Earth at around 1 p.m. It looks like a skull. I mean, this is just too much. So there it is. That's the first image, as you say. Now, are you concerned, Bob, that we only really found out about this 3 weeks ago?
Well, yes and no. I mean, this one is coming at us from an odd direction. Most asteroids in our solar system are out between Mars and Jupiter, and they're basically on the same plane as all of the rest of the planets, the Earth and Mars and all of our planets. We all go around the sun like we're sitting on the surface of a CD with the sun at the hole in the center. So it's all pretty flat. But this thing came from underneath the solar system. It's on a very different kind of orbit. So it's coming up from below and around. And in our search for these asteroids, and there is an active program right now to try to identify all of these things out here that could threaten us, we don't usually look much in that direction. So that's why it was only seen 3 weeks ago. So I think we might have to think about our survey to start looking in different directions for these things.
All right, so let's say we had discovered it, and let's say it was coming too close for comfort. What would we have been able to do about it?
Well, in this case, nothing. Yeah. If it's only 3 weeks out, we don't have the resources on Earth. We don't have anything standing by right now that's ready to go out and try to do something about it. The only thing we can do is, if we did have something like that, is to try to nudge it just a little bit. If you can get it when it's far enough away, a little further than 3 weeks actually, just nudge it a bit, it would miss the Earth. But otherwise, the only thing that we could do is to evacuate the area where it's going to hit. And the scientists would be able to predict exactly where it's going to come down. So they could say, okay, it's going to hit Scarborough, Ontario, and it's going to hit at exactly 1:03 this afternoon. Then everybody would have to get out of there. But I don't know how you do that. How do you evacuate people, because something this size would cause destruction all the way out to Nova Scotia? So it's pretty sad, and I think that we need to think about having something ready. It should be an international effort to have something ready to go at any time. At the moment, we don't have anything like that.
So why is that, Bob? Because it's the size of two states. Why don't we have anything to do anything about it? Well, that's one question. But also in terms of the devastation, it's the size of, if I understand, full two stadiums or two, something like that. So why would something that, I mean, that is big, but it's not necessarily that big. Why would it devastate an area all the way to Nova Scotia?
Well, it's not, as you're right, it's not as big as the one that knocked out the dinosaurs. That was much larger. That caused planet-wide destruction. The reason these things do so much damage is because they're traveling very fast. This thing's doing about, 40,000 kilometers an hour. Like, that's many, many times faster than a rifle bullet. And if you think about a bullet, it's not very big, but it's going so fast, it'll do a lot of damage to your body. So it's their speed, all of that energy that they carry. And when they hit the Earth, all that energy is turned into heat. And you get these enormous explosions, and then you get stuff blown up into the atmosphere. You get dust that comes down and covers the sun. So that's the problem, is that they're going so fast. Now, what we have working for us is the fact that there aren't very many of them that actually cross our orbit. They're few and far between, but we still haven't identified them all. We've identified the big ones, the ones that the dinosaur killers. Those we know about, and there's nothing like that coming our way. But these smaller ones, they're a little trickier to find, and they can still surprise us once in a while. So I think we got to do something about getting ourselves a little more prepared than we are at the moment.
Let's show that image one more time, because it's really something else as we continue to talk there, Bob. Come on, look at this. It does look like a skull. That's unbelievable. By the way, this was taken by the National Astronomy and Ionosphere Center. So there it is. Now, this is about to pass at 1:05 Eastern, so that's in about 20 minutes from now. Would there be, I guess there's no way for anyone to see it with the naked eye. You have to have some really...
No.
Yeah.
You need a telescope, and you need to know where to look. But what you're seeing here is a phenomena called where the human eye tries to make faces. We're very good at that. But what you're looking at are probably just craters on its surface. Asteroids have very rough surfaces, like the moon does. So that could be what that is. But we'll resolve that later on today. We're going to see better pictures, and we'll also see it from different sun angles. They just chose that picture to show everybody just because it's Halloween and it's kind of fun. But it's not actually a skull. I don't think.
We don't know, do we, Bob? All right, thank you very much. Great to talk to you as always.
The U.S. Navy says 2 Russian maritime patrol jets flew within 1 nautical mile of the U.S. aircraft carrier, the USS Reagan, during the U.S.-South Korean naval drills on October 27. The U.S. said it received no response when it tried to contact the Russian planes, and the U.S. Navy sent 4 fully loaded fighter jets to fly alongside the Russian aircraft. No confrontation took place. but a U.S. Navy spokesperson said Russia should obey international rules.
American boots will soon be on the ground in Syria. President Obama has ordered about 50 U.S. Special Operations troops to northern Syria to aid Kurdish units and others battling the ISIS terror army. Mr. Obama had previously said he would not send U.S. ground forces to Syria. A White House spokesman says the special forces will not be serving as frontline combat troops, but, quote, there's no denying the serious risk they will be facing. David Martin has more from the Pentagon.
A Pentagon official said American special forces will spend up to 60 days at a time in the headquarters of U.S.-backed fighters in Syria. They will not, for the foreseeable future, go out on operations against ISIS. Their mission? To coordinate a drive by various bands of Arab and Kurdish fighters on the ISIS capital of Raqqa with the help of American airstrikes. The number of jets flying strikes out of a nearby base in Turkey will quadruple from just 6 a few weeks ago to 24. We want to be prosecuting as many ISIS targets as possible in Syria, the Pentagon official said. American and allied jets have been bombing Raqqa for months. Earlier this year, a Jordanian pilot had to bail out over Raqqa. He was captured by ISIS and burned alive.
We are near Raqqa every day.
But as Lieutenant Colonel Mike Jones told 60 Minutes earlier this month at the command center for the air campaign, a lot of time and fuel is wasted flying those strikes from bases 1,000 miles away.
All of our fighters coming out of the Arabian Gulf, way down here, 2.5 to 3 hour transit time up into the theater. That's a tremendous amount of transit time that could be spent on station.
With more planes spending more time over Syria, and with some U.S.-backed fighters already within 30 miles of Raqqa, ISIS could be forced to pull back fighters from the front lines in Iraq to defend their capital.
We can put pressure on there, we can strike them there, create fear, which makes them withdraw forces potentially from the Mosul area and from Ramadi.
A Pentagon official said it could take up to a month for special forces to reach Syria and would not rule out the possibility that more could follow. As this official put it, this is a start to gauge what's possible. For CBS This Morning, Saturday, this is David Martin at the Pentagon.
Tensions are rising even higher. The U.S. warship Lesson sailed into waters of China's Nansha Islands, also known as the Spratly Islands. China calls it a deliberate provocation.
Such action by the U.S. side threatened China's national sovereignty and security, endangered the safety of personnel and facilities on the related islands and the safety of Chinese fishermen's normal operations, and damaged the regional peace and stability. We expressed our resolute opposition and solemn protest.
China has been carrying out construction in some of the reefs and islands, including the Juby Reef, which the USS Lesson sailed close to. The U.S. calls these artificial islands and does not recognize China's territorial rights.
We have said, and we are acting on the basis of saying that we will fly, sail, and operate wherever international law permits.
China takes the reclamation as natural extensions of insular features and says the U.S. is muddying the waters. Many Chinese believe the foray is meant to show U.S. dominance.
Main purpose for the United States to conduct its rebalance to Asia-Pacific is to use South China Sea issue contain China.
China also criticized the U.S. for the militarization of territorial disputes.
We strongly urge the U.S. side to earnestly respect China's national sovereignty and security concerns, properly cope with divergences to follow the principle of no conflict, mutual trust, win-win cooperation, take concrete measures to correct wrongdoings, and prevent such incidents from happening again.
For now, Chinese vessels continue their routine patrols of the area.
China is reacting strongly over the U.S. military warships patrol in the Nansha Islands. It sends a warning to the U.S. about its new military attempts at involvement in the South China Sea disputes. Still, the U.S. says such patrols is what is called freedom of navigation and could become frequent. This new situation presents a new test to the U.S.-China military relations over the troubled waters. Han Bin, CCTV.
Top story this morning, a Russian passenger plane has crashed in Egypt. Over 200 were on board. John Northcott is in our newsroom with more. And John, we are learning some new details almost every few minutes.
Yeah, that's right, Andrew, and some disturbing details at that. This is the latest in. Now, this is according to a Twitter account and the unofficial news agency of ISIS. They have said, and I'll read you from that statement, the fighters of the Islamic State, ISIS or ISIL, were able to down a Russian plane over Sinai province that was carrying over 220 Russian crusaders, they refer to them as. They were all killed, thanks be to God. Now, that is a statement that is out there. Again, according to two sources, one of them being the Twitter account frequently used by this organization, as well as this unofficial news agency, the Amaq news agency. So that is the latest, most disturbing detail to come out of this. This is the type of aircraft we're talking about here. We're also getting word from the scene itself that the search area, and in fact the debris field and where they're discovering bodies, is 5 kilometers in radius, a large area, and that would indicate certainly some kind of catastrophic incident potentially happening above ground rather than on the ground itself. We're also getting disturbing pictures in of the families gathering together as they are in St. Petersburg, desperate to hear news of what has exactly happened to their relatives and the cause of this. Again, other than this statement from this ISIS-affiliated group, we do not know what resulted in this incident to occur as it has done. We can tell you that there has been an investigation, a criminal investigation, as it is described by Russian authorities. Egyptian authorities very much on the case as well, as they are in this difficult search area, desert area, difficult to get there with roads. They are managing to get there. The original flight path here from Sharm el-Sheikh, that resort area frequented by Russians in the south of Sinai, due to go to St. Petersburg. And this, again, the area we're talking about, just to zoom in and show you what it's looking at. There it is. It's mountainous and extremely remote, still getting reports from the scene. Andrew?
And so, John, tell us more about this plane.
Well, it's the Airbus 320. It's the Airbus 320-1200 to be precise, but it's part of the Airbus 320 fleet that have been in the air since 1993. There are some 6,000 of them in the air. In fact, it's estimated that every few seconds one takes off around the world. There have been some 88 incidents, over 1,000 people killed, but again, a very popular aircraft, largely deemed to be a reliable aircraft. But we can tell you that the airline itself has been investigated by authorities in Russia. Reports from Interfax news agency that the Metrojet company was investigated. They were told there were some safety violations. They did fix the problem within the timeline given to them by authorities. But still, that is something that will be looked at as this investigation moves forward. And we can tell you that Airbus, the European consortium who builds these planes, very much involved in this investigation, saying they are going to render whatever assistance they can. Andrew?
All right, John, thank you.
Okay.
Breaking news on News Channel 8.
A sinkhole threatens homes, neighbors have been evacuated, and a community is on edge. Good evening. I'm Jennifer Lee.
And I'm Keith Kay. Thank you for joining us. We begin with that breaking news. That sinkhole has opened up near homes in Seffner. And would you look at that? This is video from Eagle 8 HD of the scene on Clay Pit Road. This hole is right under a fence separating 2 yards. 4 homes have been evacuated. News Channel 8's Josh Benson joins us on the ground tonight. A scary scene for sure. Josh.
Absolutely, Keith. A scary scene, but it's a bizarre story. We were up here just a few miles away listening to concerns about a possible sinkhole. That's when we got the call that there was an actual sinkhole right here. Check it out. As you said, it's in between homes. That's the good news, but the bad news is Seffner residents once again on the edge of more shaky ground. Lydia Freeman has lived in this Seffner neighborhood 5 years. She likes it, but listen to what her family was talking about just hours before she saw this.
I don't know. We were just sitting at home wondering what are we going to do if we have to move. We have to pack our belongings and take off.
This 22-foot wide, 27-foot deep sinkhole just opened up 2 doors down from Lydia's house. Hillsborough County Code Enforcement got the call about 6:45 Friday night and evacuated nearby homes.
If it continues to open, if the void grows and it gets into the foundations and the footings, that is a significant issue.
The homeowner told the response team he'd heard a loud noise, ran outside and saw this massive hole splitting the property line. Lucky it was in between homes and not under one. Just 2 miles from here, a sinkhole swallowed a home, killing a man in 2013. Neighbors watch, hoping it never happens again.
It's just too close to home,
Well, I asked Lydia if it's time to move. She says not yet. She wants to see what happens with this hole first. But as for what's next, the county says this is private property, so they are out of the mix. Now it's up to the homeowners and the insurance company to figure out what's next. That's the latest here in Seffner, Keith.
Man, not what you want to see in your yard or next door. Thank you, Josh.